So if your presence escalates a room instead of steadying a room, you're not leading, you're leaking. So today's episode is going to challenge that. Dr. Melanie Gray is back, and she's here to talk about a leadership skill that no one trained us for, but every team now requires. So this episode is not about fixing teams, it's about who leaders must become in the room. It's good to have you back, Dr. Melanie. How have you been?
I've been wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yeah. So leadership and is has changed so much. And to be a successful leader, there are some new skills that you must have. I know I've been in front of a lot of leaders in my life, and some shown and some didn't. What makes a good leader? What are good qualities of a good leader?
Well, number one, believe it's trust. They must be trustworthy and they must be authentic
Mm-hmm.
and they must be trusted in who they are in terms of their character and being trustworthy in doing what they say they will do, right? They have to live their values.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And what about the emotional side of things? So you focus on trauma-informed leadership. And so what does that mean?
Well, trauma-informed leadership means that the leader is sensitive to creating safe workspaces where there's emotional safety and trust, where they are sensitive to the potential historical and multi-generational trauma that members of their team may have had. This
Mhm.
is African American History Month, so I'll use African Americans as an example. African Americans have been marginalized and have suffered brutality through slavery, through Jim Crow, through Reconstruction, through segregation, through civil rights, through uh, even as early as recent as 2023 affirmative action being repealed in terms of allowing greater equity for African Americans in terms of higher education, and then our current president repealing affirmative action as related to hiring, as he's gone back to what he calls uh, well, I'm running. He wants to say that everyone has had the same chance, and
Mm,
everyone has not. Equity-based uh, development it's never been equitable for African Americans.
right,
We've never had the same opportunities. We've often, very often, been thought to be lesser than our
right.
counterparts. And so when you think about people, how they show up at work, the safety is everything. Emotional
Mhm.
safety is everything. Not understanding, not knowing, or being confident in how I'm read. We're often taught by our family members we have to be better. We have to work harder. We have to know that um, we might not get selected because of our color. We've all had the microaggressions that we are often experience. People wanting to tell us we're not ready. Well, I can do the same work a counterpart has done, and they'll get praise, and I'll get marginalized, demeaned. Someone next to me can make a mistake. I can make a lesser mistake, and I'm penalized. And it happens all the time. So a trauma-informed leader is aware that behaviors are taught, safety, or lack of that therein has learned. And how do you make everyone feel safe and valued? You can't just brush it under the rug. A real leader says these things are true.
Right.
His history has happened, right?
Yeah.
We can't ignore it.
Right. Or pretend it's not true to make themselves feel more comfortable with it. To say, no, that
Well,
can't be real.
because it isn't real for them. And white privilege is real, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're white, you don't realize that. And I don't mean that in a mean or vicious way. It's that if you've never had the experience of being told what you cannot be, what you should
Yeah.
not aspire to. I was in college and had professors tell me, well, you should just be a nursing assistant. You should just be an LPN. You'll never be an RN. I've had
Yeah.
patients tell me, well, I've never had earlier in my career that they had never had a black nurse before. And what
Wow.
school did I go to? You know, and
And to layer
people
on
want,
top of that, you're a woman.
and I'm a woman. They want to touch your hair. They want to tell you that your hair shouldn't, like my hair is natural right now. Oh, why don't you straighten it? Well, what gives you the right to talk about my hair? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what gives you the right? I've been in rooms where I'd be like asked to float to another unit, and I would go to the unit and go get report with the other RNs, and people would look at me and say, "Well, the aides get reported in the other room." And I never will forget the one day my heart got really big was a white nurse said, I spoke up for me. She said,
Wow.
she's an RN and she belongs here.
Wow.
And that was a really big date in my life that I was validated for what I was. I was an RN degree like everybody else. I, and my name tag said it too, Lisa. It wasn't that it was a secret. But people
Mm-hmm.
look at your face before they ever sometimes look at your name tag, and that is unfortunate. But leaders have to understand their own biases, and they have to know they have them.
Mm-hmm. What happens when a leader is emotionally unregulated?
Well, they don't respond fairly. They
Mm-hmm.
don't respond with good information because when you're dysregulated, you're generally often firing out of anger, out of fear, out of misinformation, fear of loss for many reasons. Could be that there are situations that you brought to work that had nothing to do with work, but you bring that to work and you don't regulate yourself, and then you misappropriate your emotions to your team members. And that begins a spiral for you and for your team that could be negative.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the team of a leader essentially mirrors the state of the leader's nervous system, right? And if someone with the most power in a room is scattered or all over the place, it can cause harm for that group. I mean, how can you expect them to be regulated when the leader's not? And these days, it's even more important. I'm seeing a lot of people who are claiming to be experts in things that they're not, and they're unregulated, and they're like leading these groups and teams, and the energy that they're evoking out of their system is not healthy. And so that actually harms the group that they're leading. And I just think it's really careless. And now is like the time to take that back and to talk about how important, that emotional regulation is.
Well, yes, it is important for each of us to be willing to be honest with ourselves. I think with the uncertainties in society, in the workplace, people don't honestly want to be honest because they're afraid. Well, if I'm honest and transparent, is that going to cost me my job or cost me my future? Or how do I pivot with so many people losing their jobs? How am I going to support my family? So there are a lot of factors that weigh into behaviors and reasons for people to want to push stuff everything down and say this is not happening and deny how they feel, but it will ultimately catch up with them because chronic stress, ongoing stress does have an impact on your body as we've spoken about before, but it also has an impact on your DNA. It doesn't change the sequence of your DNA, but it can affect how your DNA responds to the environment by setting up more inflammation.
Hmm.
and that stress and a lesser capacity to bounce back. So it might feel okay to ignore your truth in the moment, but it can have long-term effects. And that epigenetics is is real, and it's proven by the research. And as related to African Americans or people of other cultures, are indigenous people who have had to live through unbearable stress and demeaning experiences generation after generation, it has potentially impacted how our DNA responds and has caused long-term health problems in our families and anxiety and potentially mental illness challenges, not because we, are inherently made that way, but the impact of the stress and the injustices that happen in society and then in the workplace have a compounded effect.
Yeah, I remember being in my 20s. I had a legal job and I was also on my sober journey. And I had to, in order to abstain and to continue working on my sobriety, I had to attend these appointments every once in a while, once every 3 months. And to attend these appointments, I had to leave my office job to go. And so I had to confide in one of the managers about the truth of what was happening in my life. I was such a strong worker. I was such a good assistant. I worked my butt off. I told this manager about the need to leave the office once every 3 months to, work on my sobriety. And I had a referral from another position, and this person called that person, and he completely knocked me down. And he told them that I was, an addict, and he made up all this stuff because I confided in him. After that happened, that changed the whole trajectory of my business life, because all of a sudden I was like, I opened up to this person who was in charge, who's supposed to protect me, and now I'm unsafe, and I
Hmm.
can never tell anybody else about my journey again because it's going to cost me my job. So that was a huge lesson I had to learn when I was in my 20s. That was hard.
Well, yeah, and you should be able to trust your leaders. But unfortunately, sometimes you can't. But that is a lesson for all leaders that you must be someone people can trust. You have to be able to hold good water.
Hmm.
There are
How
no
do
holes
you
in, I, I don't have any holes in my cup.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, I guess the question then is, how do you be a regulated leader but still assertive and in charge? Like there's a difference between being regulated and nice, right? Like so you don't want to be overly nice, like the girl that or man or woman who is a leader and gets kind of taken advantage of because of that. So how do you manage that?
Well, as a leader or organizational leader, there are policies and procedures. Follow them.
Hmm.
You can follow, use the procedures and your policies as a framework for setting your culture and tone
Hmm.
and your expectations. That protects you and it sets clear guidelines for your team. One of
Hmm.
the best leaders I ever had, she was she was compassionate and you could talk to her, but she treated everybody the same.
Right.
If she expected me to be there on by the minute, she did of all the other 50 people that reported to her. So
Right.
leaders have to know their documents and they have to be willing to own them and live by them. When you do that, you're less likely to be dysregulated because you can be supported by your leader because you follow the guidelines, and your team members are less likely to become dysregulated because they know what the expectation is for everyone and they trust you as a leader to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
If you just willy-nilly and you're this way with this one and this way with another one, you cannot keep track of that and you're not consistent and you're thereby creating stress for yourself.
Mm-hmm. What do you do as a leader if you cross that boundary? How do you retrieve that? What if you are, I mean, because we're all human and leaders are human, just like anybody else. What do you do if you have one of those days? And how do you repair that relationship with someone on your team?
Well, you have to go to them and say, I messed up.
Yeah.
I really apologize for how I might have responded to you.
Hmm.
I was out of order. Will you forgive me for that?
Right.
I think you have to also be honest about where people are. We're in a very litigious society. And if you blow it, you need to call HR and say, hey, I blew it. This is what I did to try to repair it with this person so that you have it on record
Right.
that you tried to repair it. Because there is always the possibility that someone will come back at you because of a
Mhm.
mistake that you made, which is the other reason why being regulated and being consistent is so important so that you can limit the potential of having to have a big HR blow up, which could be a career harming, career threatening, or career ending.
Yeah. Let's talk about tough conversations. How does a leader have or approach a tough conversation?
You have to have kept your documentation. So if you're going to have a tough conversation, you can't pull it out of the wind. You should have been keeping your documentation. You should have been having ongoing conversations leading or coaching leading up to the tough conversation. And you sit down with that individual. We've had a conversation on the 1st, on the 10th, and 2 months ago. And this is what's transpired.
Mhm.
So when you follow the process, the step coaching or the process by your organization, um, it doesn't make the conversation easier, but you know that you're supported by the documentation and the organization. Also, therefore, you do not have to have tough conversations alone. And
Mm.
I encourage leaders, when a situation is rough, bring another party in the room. And they don't have to weigh in, but they can be present. You can ask HR to be present. You can ask a colleague to be present. It protects you and it protects the team member.
Can you walk us through a tough conversation handled in a regulated way, or do you have an example of some tough conversations and how to handle them?
Yeah, so you might have a team member that you need to put on a disciplinary procedure.
Yeah.
And you can say, hey, Sue, come on in. I need you to sit down and talk and meet with me for a minute. You're gonna go on a 90-day suspension because you've been late. And if you don't do this right, if you have another call in or another uh punch in that's 5 minutes late, you're going to be terminated. Now that the person might, recoil in anger, or they could either way. Or you can say, hey, I need to sit down with you. You know that we've had conversations about your timeliness. Has anything changed for you that's going to help you support your being on time? Or is this going to be an impossible task for you?
Mm.
Because if this is going to be, you know that you can't do this, let's get a plan to support your transition. Because if you are fired and you're late again and you're fired, that's not going to be good for your career, especially from an organization this size. So I think there's a way of, hey, I don't care. And there's help me understand where you are. You understand we've had this talk before. What help do you need? Because maybe the person can't do that job, but can we make them a better fit somewhere else?
Right. So Regulation as a leadership practice. So leaders often say that they don't have time for this. Why do you feel like that is a misunderstanding?
Because they think that we have a lot, they hear a lot about mindset shifts and that, your mindset shift takes time and out of your day, and you're going to pause and you're going to have this 20 or 30-minute break. And I'm suggesting that that's possibly why leaders figure they don't have time to regulate. But if you are just aware and take the time to breathe, to take the
Mhm.
time to put a few minutes in between your meetings so that you create a work schedule that is manageable, that you set expectations for yourself and for your team that are really realistic, that you can manage, so that you're not always up against the wall and feeling like you're in a frenzy all of the time. And then you have to change your mindset and your belief about who you are and how you work. Maybe you, as a leader, have to change how you work. uh, Look at how well you're managing your time, setting your priorities. How are you stacking your meetings so that you can make time, work in a way that is conducive to your mental health and the emotional safety of your team?
What is like a few examples of some regulation rituals that leaders can build into their day, maybe before a meeting or a hard conversation or after a situation where it's emotionally intense?
Well, right. Sometimes taking notes, writing your notes down, writing your thoughts down, and then coming back to them.
Mm,
Sometimes we do better to write and come back to something. Not We
right.
don't have to have a response. Building 10 minutes to reflect on, look at your notes, review the agenda so
Hmm.
that you feel a little more prepared for what is going to happen next.
Hmm.
So building those pauses where you can really take in what it is you are doing and what so you can respond well and be the best for yourself and others. So getting a cup of coffee, if you're going to come in at 8, maybe you don't start a meeting until 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Maybe you're going to use the first hour in your day to review your email. Maybe you're going to then have meetings until 11:30, review your emails, and then have lunch, and then build in the rest of your day. Maybe you don't have to have open hours in your office until without set times like 2 to 3 o'clock. Maybe you
Right.
go try to have your last meeting of the day at 3:30 or 3 o'clock so that you can use your last hour to clean up.
Right.
Maybe you'll set time in your day. I want every afternoon on Thursday and Tuesdays from 2 to 4. I'm not going to have any meetings.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can, where you can collaborate with others to help you set these meeting times. It doesn't have to be go, 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 go. Use your voice. Be
Hmm.
creative.
So how does this protect leaders from burnout or decision fatigue?
Well, you decision fatigue happens not just because of decisions at work, but because of decisions they have to make in life as well. It doesn't stop, right? What are you going to get for dinner? When are you going to get the groceries? Who's going to pick up the dry cleaning? Who's going to get the kids? Who's going to go to the soccer game? I mean, you have decisions. Who's going to take care of
Yeah.
mom tonight and do her laundry? So
Yeah.
there's always uh, decisions that have to be made, but you can try to compartmentalize your decisions so that work turns off at maybe 4:30. You give yourself the drive home to recalibrate and then move on to the other things you need to do, and then setting a time for rest. 8 o'clock, 8:30 is your bedtime, and you
Right.
turn off your phone, you put your bonnet on, and you read your book and you have your glass of wine, whatever your ritual for relaxation is, but you need to have one because burnout happens when you just never turn off. And even iron wears out, Lisa.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember those nights waking up, going to the washroom, checking my phone, responding to an email at 3 in the morning, and oh, I'll just knock this out. And before I know it, I'm doing another one, and then I can't fall back asleep, and then it's morning, and
And then
it
you
goes on
teach
and
people
on and
how to
on.
treat you. Then you're wondering why people are always expecting you to do things when you have taught them, yeah, treat me. You can catch me any time of the day or night, and I'll respond to you.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you think the next generation of high performing teams require from leaders?
I think they're going to require more honesty and transparency with all of the transitions and uncertainties in the world, in the economy. I think we have to be honest about what our longevity is, what the bottom line is, what it's going to take to stay afloat. Just be real. If it's a time where maybe you anticipate there's gonna be a layoff, give people the one up and the choice. I think we have to think as much more about others than we do ourselves.
Right, right. It's like regulation is no longer optional. It seems to be foundational for the future of leadership.
Yes, because even for leaders, there are uncertainties. So the 40-40-40 plan is not going to be the norm. The plan
What
of
is that?
my
What
life,
is 40,
no,
40, 40?
it's 40 hours a week for 40 years so that you
Okay.
can then get your pension.
Wow. That's a long time.
It's a long time. 40 hours a week for 40 years so that you can go into retirement for another 20, maybe 40 now, who knows. But it's not going to be the norm, right? I think Gen Alpha, they are going to change careers, I read 5 to 7 times, and change jobs 15 to 17 times. That's exhausting.
Wow.
That's exhausting. I can't even wrap my mind around that, Lisa. So leaders are going to have to change, but they're going to also be the leaders. The Gen Alphas, the Gen Zs, they're going to be the leaders, and they need to be equipped to be fluid, resilient, and flexible, and able to make quick changes and adaptations because they're going to have to.
Wow. Why do you think that is that the new next generation is so all over the place, I guess?
Well,
What's
because the
changed?
world is changing. AI has changed. The world of work has changed. There are there are careers that they will do, the younger generations, that we can't even tell them what they are because they don't exist yet. But
Yeah.
as a technology advances, AI advances with technology, it's going to change life in a way that we can't quite define. Like we
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what the world was never the same after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It changed expectations, how we do financing, how we do banking, how we get groceries. It will never be the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so there are new changes and they're coming faster that are changing how we work.
Mm. Insane. Um, Tell everybody more about the work that you do.
So I am a subject matter expert in the area of trauma-informed care. I help corporations create cultures of safety and wellness by helping leaders develop a trauma-informed lens. And I also integrate ways to manage burnout, and I work with companies around helping their teams manage burnout, and I coach individuals around burnout as well.
Amazing. And let us know where we can find more information about you.
Dr. Melanie Gray, theconfidencecoach.com.
Amazing. Do you have any other last minute thoughts on leadership in today's modern world?
Yes, I would tell every leader that what you can do for yourself and those around you is to be authentic, to be honest and trustworthy, and integral. These are words we don't always hear anymore. But
Mhm.
understand, and create your own value and what you want to be known for as a leader and live those values.
Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. It's been so much fun.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Authenticity is the number one frequency that we can live on. So learn to be authentic, have integrity, and you'll notice that your team will thrive. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Thank you.